500. This deserves a round of applause. I'm about to seriously, man. That's a big deal. So I'm getting ready to really highlight this because I think this is important. The Blackledge, one of the awesome people that joins us on Twitch and online in the community learning communities, got a job working in IT. That's worthy of clapping. Please, everybody, clap when you hear that. Wish him a great career and congratulations. You've gotten over the hardest part of your career, and that is getting in. I still think that's the hardest part, is getting in, because now you're doing this for a living. You can learn every day, and try not to take it for granted. Once you break in, do your best to not take this thing for granted, because every day you could learn a new skill that could then land you a promotion or another job in the field, because that's what people are largely looking for, is experience, and you're developing that every single day. I want to point out one thing that you mentioned when I asked about how you did it, and you said networking. To be honest, online forums didn't do anything for me. Ask friends, family, and just keep pushing till you find the opportunity. You said, I applied for over 500 plus jobs online. Not a single one landed. So it's not easy. It is not easy. I think that's like really a key point, especially this video is August. This stream is in August 17, 2025. For a lot of people right now, they're not able to find it. And it's really it's not always like a skill issue. Sometimes it's just the labor market, where companies are at, the economy, how much, money's available for talent, especially if layoffs are going on, So what I would say is don't give up. Just the way the Blackledge mentions, just keep going, keep trying. This is why one of the things you want to focus on is making sure that this is for you. Don't just be like, this is, how I'm going to get rich one day. Yeah, this industry can pay you well. It can get you to a good place where you're making, more than you've ever made. But, it may not be worth it because it's stressful. Like you're fixing stuff all the time. People are counting on you. You are almost always on spot, right? Because of the nature of the job. The nature of the job is generally, especially IT support and like IT operations, is to unblock people. People are in a situation that their computer doesn't work the way it's expected and they can't do their job. So you have an essential role in helping them continue to do their job so they can do the important work that the organization you're working for is doing. So very important work, but getting in, is hard. And the Blackledge says too, I think this market is a product of over hiring during COVID. So hopefully things calm down and more jobs become available. Yeah. And, this is one thing I will say, I'll add in the skill part because I do think that's important, is especially in a competitive market, it's important for you to have more than just knowledge and credentials. Having skills can really set you apart. Because if they're like, yeah, great, this person had all these credentials, but we're going to have to do a ton of training, and they're not willing to do that, they want to get an experienced person, then you having hands-on abilities and skills to demonstrate and to hit the ground running day one is going to, put you in a better position. So anywhere you can find unfair, I know this sounds a little bad in a glance, but I recommend find your unfair advantage. Like identify that. What is that? Are you really good at working with people and having customer service skills where other people are deeply technical and just like rude? You're probably going to win every time because someone doesn't want to pay someone else that's going to be rude to them. It's rare that you can make it by being like an a-hole, as some will call it. It's rare that you would make it at an organization for long. Though I will say, if you're just a super cracked engineer that's irreplaceable and cannot be found anywhere else, you may be able to get by for a little while. I've seen it, but I wouldn't recommend it because, we're being paid to help people and to serve others and to help unblock them and beyond. So, yeah, great job. And I'm hoping to hear more stories like that from people, like that they found a job. Part of it's resume. Generally, I say, like, if you're not getting calls back after, 10 applications initially, make resume tweaks, make a tweak on your resume. Maybe it's not hitting. Maybe that, right? Exactly. You said I redid my entire resume too. That's huge. Yeah, so redo your resume. Look for resume templates online and like IT resume templates. Where skills and keywords are in there, because I will say, the first thing that's going to see your resume is an algorithm. Generally, that's going to be the truth. They're called applicant tracking systems, and they are designed to filter out the noise. So they're designed to find the best candidate based on keywords and requirements of the job description, so that generally a recruiter or whoever's the hiring manager, has a smaller list of applications and resumes to go through. Do not shortchange that application process. If there's a question on there, answer it. Like, I would not leave anything empty on a job application for IT roles, because it is a market that it favors the employer. So they are going to be picky. And as much as I hate it, it's the way it is. It's a really picky process. And even to the point where the standards they may have in the hiring process and interview process may not be the same standards they have after you get the job. So I wouldn't say perfect, but you have to be the most polished in the interview process. And I'm not saying you let up after the interview. I'm just saying there's like, until they know you, you can't really like be lax about it. You want to like really show them you're the fit. And some companies are an exception. Like, some companies really have a great enough culture where, the interview process is like really trying to identify, do they want to work with you from a culture standpoint? Are you a personality fit? Or some are just like performance in the interview. Perfect. Presentation has to be on point. They're looking for darn everything. They're looking for typos. So like, when you look at your resume, look at that thing like it is they don't write the resume like they gotta talk to you. Like, when they see that resume, they just gotta talk to you because you're so passionate about the company, or organization. You have a lot of relevant skills, and they're applicable. And try to format it all as like accomplished, what you've accomplished. Whether it's like, if you're in your home lab, you could say, exactly what you built in a couple bullet points. Link to, again, give yourself an unfair advantage. Make a personal blog. Link to your personal blog. If you have YouTube videos, link to them. If you're tweeting about this stuff, link to your X. Or if you're posting about it, link to your X. You live stream, link to that. Like, all those things are giving you a unique advantage. I will say, and I'm not afraid of like, I have to tell people this all the time, because on 2 occasions in my career at 2 different organizations that paid pretty well, it has been mentioned to me by a key decision maker in the hiring process that my YouTube channel had a significant impact on me getting hired. So when they were comparing me to other candidates, my YouTube is what helped me stick out. Which is crazy, right? Like, that's a blog. A way of blogging. And my goal with my YouTube hasn't been to make me look more appealing to employers. My goal has been to teach people skills by sharing my knowledge and empowering them. So that sticks out. And I thought it was really interesting on 2 occasions that happened. So, you know, even though my YouTube doesn't necessarily make me enough money to like make a living off of YouTube alone, um, it it landed me opportunities that I would say well exceed 100 grand in earnings over time, in over several years working in those organizations. So it's like, have I ever made money off YouTube? Technically, yeah, it has led to opportunities for me, and I'm still being myself in the process. And what I think the YouTube stuff did for me, and I have a personal blog as well, and I think you should get a personal blog. You could go on Gitbook, and it's free. A lot of websites exist where you can just make a free blog. It one shows me that I'm willing to do like go above and beyond the traditional, just submit a resume and cover letter. And by the way, do a cover letter if they're asking for one, which most do. But again, it's the unfair advantage thing. Okay, yes, that candidate has those skills. That candidate submitted a cover letter and resume, but you submitted a cover letter, resume, and you have a personal blog you link to, and you have, you know what I mean? So it's like in the vetting process, you've given them more proof of what you've accomplished, which I would consider a blog an accomplishment. Especially if you're a beginner and you haven't had an opportunity to be in the industry, you already look like you're cut from a different cloth. And this is why I'm so big on like building a home lab, setting stuff up, trying to break it, just building this stuff at home, because it gives you more experience. Yeah, so that's really cool that you got that job. I want everybody who's watching these, like who's interested in IT, to get a job. And these are the things, right? In some countries it's literally like impossible to break into IT because the country's so populated that like there's job fairs. Like I'll recommend looking up job fairs in India. I've got a few contacts that tell me about the job market in India and how, it's almost like jobs are scarce. At least this is how it's explained to me because of, because there's so many people, just really, so many people and not as many like opportunities to keep up with that. So like, your skill set really has to stand out. How you present yourself really has to stand out. The United States is competitive too. It's really, I can think back to when I first jumped in the industry, and it was like pretty easy to get a job. And I know I have a biased perspective because my mentor did personally help me find several opportunities. But even like after my first full-time job, it was like I was getting hit up on ZipRecruiter, Indeed, all these different websites. Like it was proactively trying to reach out to me. And, that's not as much anymore. I still get that just because like of where I am in my career. I'm a little further on now. I'm becoming more like my skill set is a little bit harder to develop. So there's fewer people in the world that can do what I'm able to do. Specifically within like teaching. I think teaching is like my strongest suit. So like I can do documentation really well. I can make videos. I can help people that want to have that skill set. I can train them on latest tools. So there's a uniqueness there that I bring, because technically I have a lot of skills in the networking. Like when I think about my unfair advantage from a technical standpoint, I do think technically networking is a big skills gap. And I don't mean like people networking. I mean like actual computer networking can be a unique skill that you have that not a lot of people in the organization have. Usually there's like one network guy or gal or a couple or a dedicated team. And that's usually because they understand the network the best. So if you can like develop that, and I try to be full stack, right? Where I'm like, Right now my biggest skill set is really software development, and systems like Cursor, Grok, Claude, those AI tools are helping me be able to like better, I will say, produce code that's useful. I'm not going to call myself a software engineer, but it's giving me more insight and ability to produce there than I ever have in my career. But my unique ability is, and technically, is networking. But you want to have that. Like, you want to develop that because it's how you stick out, but it's also how you become more beneficial and useful in, what you build. So, yeah, it's, I feel people right now who are having a trouble breaking in. If you ever want me to do like a resume review for you too, anybody out there, join the Discord and we can chat about it. And I can take a look at your resume and give you some tips, because sometimes it is your resume. Like, your resume may just not be formatted well. It might not look great. It might not have keywords. It might not be. I had a student. I can tell a story about a student who he's employed now. I'm not going to put his name out there. He's not here. But I had a student once who, he came to me after he graduated. And, he's one of those students that I was like, in his mind, he thought it was just going to be simple to get a job. And I never told him it was going to be like really simple. I told him if he got his technical skills right and was able to promote himself, he shouldn't have too much of a problem finding a job, right? Where maybe I went wrong there is I should have like really been on him about his resume, because he graduates and a couple weeks go by and I start getting a call on my office phone. I was teaching in North Carolina at the time, and he gets on the phone and he's like, Mr. Tyson, he's like, I'm freaking out. I can't find a job. I feel like I'm applying everywhere. Like, it's just not happening. And I was like, all right, let's schedule a time to meet. And we put a time on the calendar that week. He came into my office. I asked him to bring a laptop and his resume, right? Send me your resume. And so the day comes, he sends me the resume the day of. He shows up, and we start talking. I'm like, basically, how you doing? Everything good? I hope you're good. And, he is kind of like frantic, right? Because it's like he wants that job, right? He wanted to get out of the house too. He was still living at home. And I look at his resume, and I immediately saw why he's not getting calls back. It was a fugly resume. That thing was alive, and it was like growling at me. And I'm looking at his resume. His resume is looking back. That's how much of a monster it was. And it had typos just everywhere. There was no vision. It didn't have a vision. I was like, what is going on this resume? And he just basically YOLO'd his resume. Don't YOLO quote me on that. Do not YOLO your resume. And so the resume was bad. I told him that in a way that wasn't quite like that. I was being funny about it just to lighten the mood. I was like, look, this is your billboard. This is the first thing usually that they're going to see when you blind apply. Like, if you weren't able to network your way into a role, your resume is going to be the first introduction to you. So when they look at the resume, they're like, this is a representative of this person's work. And what I look at when somebody who I know personally, I usually help people that I personally know because I know their skill set. So with my students, I would do resume reviews based on like, and in my mind, I'm thinking about what I know about them. And what I knew about this student was he had the skill set. He knew Active Directory. He knew networking. He knew Linux. He knew all this stuff that like I would hire him. And so I look at the resume and I'm thinking about all the labs we've done. I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the labs we've done. I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skills he's developed in the class I had him in. And I'm thinking about all the skil And I didn't have him for a full 2 years. I think I had him for a semester. But I knew the skill set he developed and the passion he had for it. The resume did not speak to that. The resume just did not speak to it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not you, man. This is not you. It's not you. And so we spent a good hour or so working on it, right? At least getting a better start. I gave him a resume template to work with. And I said, just take the content you put in here, organize it better, broke it down on how you would organize it, threw it in the new template. And like, I think a couple of days later, he shared the new one with me. Much better. Got a job working for a school district like a week later. It was probably like 2 weeks later. But he started getting hits on his resume because he actually structured it and he made it look good. He put the skills in there that he had. And my big thing, I can give some general resume advice right now, because in most cases I'll need to look at your resume to really be helpful to you. But in general, on your resume, you should have a career objective. You should put your contact information, make sure your name's spelled right, your phone number's accurate, your email address is accurate, and there's no typos, no spelling errors on the resume, because they're looking at this thing with critical eyes. Like, as cold as it might sound, they really don't care about that. They really don't care as much as you do. How about this? They only care as much as you do. In most cases, hiring managers only care as much as you do. So if they see a resume that's like booty, they're going to be like, next, quick. Next. Like, I've heard from a lot of recruiters, the initial screening of a resume, like for a big organization, the amount of time that a hiring manager actually initially looks at your resume is like 5 seconds, which seems ridiculous, right? Like, I've been in a hiring manager position and I definitely give the time of day much longer than that. But like, if it looks completely horrible, I'm just like, oh, see ya. If it looks low effort, see ya. I'm not even spending much time on it. So like, put good effort into that thing. Like, put you in it, career objective, name, no typos. And then generally right after name, career objective, right after that, I think below that should be skills. Like, what are your skills? And this doesn't have to be long and drawn out. It can be keywords, right? Like, what do you know? VMware. I'm just thinking of things. VMware, Cisco. You can categorize your skill set. What's the metadata of you? Your skill set. Normally, I'll have people write out in a blank Word document first their skill set, so they practice quickly, like listing keywords of what their skill set is. Think about it as like attributes of a character in a video game. What are your IT character attributes, like your skill attributes? How would you rate? Just list them. And I get some questions like, what would you list on your resume? Like, should I be an expert at the thing before I list it? No. Can you speak to it at any level? Like, should I put Golang on my resume? Probably not, because if someone starts asking me about the intricacies of Go programming language, I would only be able to define it. And I don't think that's a deep enough understanding for me to put it on my resume. Now, scale back, let's say I put Active Directory. I've worked really in depth with it, but let's say you only built an Active Directory domain server in your home lab. Put it on your resume. It's valuable enough to see that, and they'll ask you, right? Be ready to at least talk about it at some depth. I would say you should put it as a skill on your resume if you can talk about it at some depth beyond just simply defining it. That would be my like sort of standard for what I put on my resume. And then skills, and then experience below that. Well, I mean, on the first page you should have skills, and then maybe even like your credentials if you have some degree, what degree, and if you're working towards a degree or you're working towards a certification that you don't currently have, at least put the date that you are expected to get it. So if, let's say, you were expected to graduate, I don't know, in August 2025, you could put that, or December 2025, your expected graduation date, just so they see that. If you're, that's also where I will put links to my special projects that I'm working on, like home lab stuff. Boom, that's where I'm putting that. If I have blogs that explain it, that's what I want to highlight. I'll put a link to a specific blog post. And then next page is experience, or even if that's all on one page, because if this is your first job in IT, you may just have one page, and that's fine. Some people will tell you, keep your resume to 1 to 3 pages. And I genuinely think that's an attainable goal. But if over the years you've developed a lot of different experience, sing your song, right? Like, I've gotten hired with an 8-page resume, and they didn't complain about it. Even though I've talked to recruiters that were like, keep it to 3 pages. And I've talked to some folks I have that, friends I have that are like chief information security officers. I sent copies of my resume years ago, and they're like, this is way too long. Cut it down. And to test their theory, I did. I was like, all right, whatever. I'm going to cut my resume down to 2-3 pages, which I did. And it looked better for sure. It did look more cramped, but it did look cleaner. And I applied for jobs with that one, the longer one, and the cleaner, shorter one. The longer one got more hits. I don't know if it was the way I was wording things or what, but for some reason it got more hits. But yeah, you don't have to reinvent the wheel and invent your own template. You can go find templates online. You can go to Canva. You can go just Google IT templates, like job position you want templates. The biggest no-no for your resume is do not put something on your resume you don't know. So I've also seen it where somebody was able, I know somebody who's able to get initial screenings and interviews anywhere. Like, it's a really unique skill set they have. They can get an interview or an initial screening anywhere they want because they're like a resume master. They'll put all the skills they know that job needs and is asking for, but they may not have all of them, which is a problem because, okay, cool, you got to the interview, but now that you're in the interview, you can't talk about the things on your resume, therefore you're lying. And that is a big no-no and already a trust issue off the gate. If they see you're lying about things you put on your resume, why would they trust you with their systems? They won't. Most organizations won't. So do not lie in your resume. Some people say fake it till you make it. I don't like that. Do not fake it till you make it. Now, I agree with the sentiment that's underlying that saying, and that sentiment is normally like act confident even when you're not confident, or act confident in the midst of uncertainty. Let's just leave it at that. Don't fake it till you make it. Act confident in the midst of uncertainty. And that will help you go further than faking it till you make it. Because even if you got to lie the whole time, then you got to keep up with your lie, right? Let's say you lied your way into a job. You've got to now continue to lie to keep that job because you really are an imposter, right? Like, some people have an imposter syndrome and they're just like nervous they got the job being honest and they feel like they don't belong. That's a different thing to overcome than true imposter, right? So I don't recommend doing that. That's a stressful life. Live in truth and honesty. So that's one part of the resume that should all be true. Do you put unrelated experience on your resume? Let's say you've never worked in IT. You've only ever gone to school. And by the way, if you're going to school, school is relevant experience, especially if you're doing hands-on labs. So put it in there. Make it clear you didn't work for the school unless you did. Make it clear you're a student. And then, like, you can bullet point out projects you've done. Like, set up IT lab environment, set up a domain controller, set up DHCP. And if you're not getting these kinds of experiences in school, you need to start complaining to the school that you're not getting relevant experience in the classes that are supposed to be preparing you for the job. So, because the school should be helping you with those bullet points by giving you actual experience. Like that's been my focus with learning this whole time and teaching. So, resume, what else? Experience should be like, usually I'll put a sentence that defines my overall objective there. Like, for example, if I was a student, it would be working towards becoming a I don't know, cybersecurity specialist or penetration tester through studying in this program, and the date range, the name of the school. And then beneath that should be bullet points, which are measurable things you accomplished. If you got a high GPA, that can be something you put in there. That's a good accomplishment. But then also, more importantly, is like skills you've developed or projects you've completed that are something that you can really speak to, because your resume is also content to be used in the interview process. So they may develop the questions for you based on what's on your resume, right? Oh, thanks for the raid. Nice. So blase bits. I appreciate the raid. Thank you. Hack the planet. Yes, indeed. We're talking resume right now. And how you shouldn't lie on your resume, how to get a job. Oh, Blaze Bits. Sorry, I mispronounced it. So Blaze Bits, we're talking resume. How do you get a job in IT and cybersecurity? What should your resume in general, like what should be the characteristics of it be? So in the experience part, underneath is bullet points that are measurable things you've accomplished. And then if you're wondering, I've never worked in the field. I've had other jobs. Right, you have to have 20 charisma. Right. And that's funny. Got to be cracked at charisma. And yeah, so let's say you only ever worked at McDonald's. Like I'll say my first like actual stable job before I got my first job in IT was working at a car wash. I was a car wash finisher. I literally would, vacuum the car. I would put it in the tunnel, hit the button that send it, throw that bad boy in neutral, hit that thing, and hit the little button. I forgot which buttons I would press. And then I would hit the green button and it would turn the machine on. The conveyor belt would come and just yeet the car right through. The machine would do the heavy lifting on the outside. And then when it came out the other side, I would dry it. And so that's like physical labor. A lot of it is unrelated to IT, but there were key characteristics in the job and skills I developed in the job that carried over into my first job in IT. And what was that? Customer service. So, bruh. Customer service. Customer service is a core competency in IT and cybersecurity. I'm serious. Like, if you're a software engineer too, I work with software engineers who they're leads on their team, and they have to be good at working with people to gather requirements and to like make sure that the thing they're making is actually going to be useful to the person that's requesting it. And so in my resume, that initial resume that I had, I would talk about the car wash position. Like, first of all, I'm showing that I had responsibility, I had a job before this. And then, that I've had customer service skills and working with people and, making people happy with the service that I delivered. So that was like how I sold that on my resume. Now, about 10 years, really over 10 years later, right, I don't put that on my resume anymore because I have enough IT experience now where the positions I'm going for, it's all IT experience that I can sell, and that I can really speak to. I have a career story now I can tell. And that's when I go into an interview anytime, I'm telling my career story. But if you haven't started your career yet, you have to have some kind of something to work off of. So put that on your resume definitely, and find ways to format it and word it in a way that you're not necessarily lying, but you're able to identify that you do have a valuable skill that you drew from that. And you could do that. I've helped people who were cooks at a southern restaurant called Lancaster's in North Carolina. They went from fry cook to IT. That, that's a crazy transition, right? If you think about it. But the way I had them, they had the skill set. Don't get me wrong, but they got a job before they graduated. I'm not sure they got their degree. They just got a job working for Lowe's corporate IT, and boom, blew up. And that's their career. Their career is now started, and they figured, hey, I'll just use this experience and catapult. And they talked about working in a high pressure environment to, basically meet and deliver orders, right? Because they're cooking. They're literally cooking. Like now they're cooking in IT, but they were cooking in the kitchen and, whipping up good food, literally getting tickets. Like there was a ticket system. It was a different kind of ticket system, but they had to take orders in. And so I told them to put, like, working in a high pressure environment is a skill set that translates well into IT. And I would even venture to say, if you're like working in a restaurant environment, it may be higher pressure to like have to get somebody their food than it is with IT. I don't know. You could sell it in a way that's like not lying, but also like really showing them you're thinking about it that way. So, if you need help with yours, let me know. I'm open to helping with resume review, specifically within IT and cybersecurity. I can't really help other disciplines because I've never done that. If I haven't done or been in like adjacent to the role, I probably couldn't help you with a resume on it.